Call the open board meeting on Tuesday, June 5th to order. We respectfully acknowledge that we are meeting on the traditional and ancestral lands of the Coast Salish people, where we live, learn, work, and play. And before we move further through the agenda, I'd just like to take a moment to acknowledge the passing of former Lake Cowichan and then total Cowichan Valley trustee Wilma Rowbottom, who was chair and vice chair repeatedly over 29 years. She was a trustee from 1979 to 2008, and she was very committed to students, to the Board of Education, and to this school district. And we just should take a moment to remember her. She's a very fine, graceful, and well-respected board trustee.
I think she was on city council as well.
And that piece, I don't know. Well-respected. Okay, move to the adoption of the agenda. There is one amendment, and that is to item 4, the mini-O presentation related to the International Student Program. And Liz Gamble is unable to be here this evening, so we will take that off our agenda. And if I could have a motion to adopt the agenda, Trustee Thorne, and seconded by Trustee Croft. All those in favor? Motion carries. Moving to the minutes of May the 1st, open board meeting. We need to adopt the minutes. Moved by Trustee Schmidt, seconded by Trustee Doman. All those in favor? Motion carries. And moving to the best piece of the night, our recognition and delegations. And the first is from the Cowichan Valley Youth Services Leadership and Resiliency Program. And Michelle Bell, would you like to come forward and tell us about this?
Where do we
Just at the direct opposite from
Okay.
me.
And do we sit or blend or we stand?
Blend.
Okay.
Thank you.
No blending. So I'll try and stand in front. Okay, so I'm actually really excited to be here. I'm going to try and talk really fast, which is easy for me, but I know we have a short time and we have a lot of information. So thanks for having us. I'm Michelle Bell. I'm the Executive Director of Cowichan Valley Youth Services. This is Danielle. She is the team leader of the Leadership and Resiliency Program, which we're here to talk about. And then Sophia Palmer came for moral support. She's one of our youth and family counselors. Some of you might have seen her running around the schools. Hopefully you've seen their faces. So I just want to quickly talk about Cowichan Valley Youth Services because some of you know who we are and some of you don't. So I thought I'd just do some highlights. So we're formerly Cowichan or Community Option Society. We just went through a name change. It was a decision of the board just to be more clear for what we do because we're a technological age. So if you Google us now, you know where we are and what we do. So we've been around 40 years. A little fun fact, Wayne actually volunteers and has been doing all our techie stuff. So whenever we have a problem, like we can't find a power bar, I phone Wayne. So thank you. I just want to acknowledge how much effort and time he actually puts in on his own time. He sneaks in on weekends and updates our computers all voluntarily. So finally we get to thank you. Thanks, Wayne. I wanted to just talk really quickly about our services. We work with teenagers 13 to 18 with soft edges, so we can take them a little younger and a little bit older depending on the situation. We do individual and family counseling. We do that in our office or in an outreach capacity. We aren't funded for outreach. That's through United Way, and actually Home Depot has taken on some fundraising for us. So if you see the counselors in your schools, that's provided by that service. We can't do our job without outreach. It's crazy that it's not something that's funded, but we definitely go out and get the youth. And so we work with all of your schools in the district, some middle schools, all the high schools, and most of the administrative and counseling staff would know our team because we often come and pick up kids and they often give us office space to work with them. We come in and do workshops. So we do parenting courses, we do youth drop-in groups for opportunities to socialize, sense of belonging, mentorship with safe adults. We offer workshops at our office, and we actually offer workshops in the school. You might not know we did 70 last year in your schools. through Transitions program. I got some funding through Coast Capital. We partnered with all the alternate schools and we offered 70 workshops. So we reached over 170 youth and we did things on healthy relationships, self-harming, coping with anxiety and depression, whatever the teachers asked. So they asked the students, we offered it. Sophia's done Trans and Queer 101 for some of the schools and some staff. We do training for parents. Hi Rob, do you can welcome Rob. This is Rob Hutchins, he's the school trustee.
Thanks, Michelle.
Okay, so we do training for foster parents, social workers. Some of our team has gone to the Children's Hospital, done training for them. We were just in the school doing Queer and Trans 101. We did a morning and an afternoon, I think 12 youth. It was so full, the group was so full, they had to actually ask some youth to attend a different workshop. And so now there's a bunch of youth that have a bunch of things they would like us to do, so we'll be following up on that, including a parent, what do we call it? Family Pride parenting courses that are coming up actually starting this week. So we have lots of stuff. So whenever anything issues comes up in the community, we try and address it. We try to stay flexible to the needs. We have a youth employment mentorship program that has been running for 11 years now, ages 15 to 29. We get youth meaningful jobs. Or to date, we have well over 400 youth that we've worked with and we've gotten jobs. We have lots of great feedback. You might have heard about the chamber, yeah. And actually that started with a partnership with the alternate schools as a youth drop-in. Years ago when we were above the Red Balloon, I actually started it. And I partnered with CVOLC and the kids that were floating around and not in school, we tried to get them kind of involved in the program and get them back in school, and they still now get credits for the youth that aren't in successful school. Some youth, they'll give them credits for this program and then we get them work. So this is still a partnership with your schools. I'm not sure you know what's all going on out there, but we work very closely with the schools. We are 100% MCFD funded. The Youth Employment Mentorship Program is Service Canada. And the program that we're here to talk to you about, the Leadership and Resiliency, is safety, public safety. So that's federal. They have way better funding than the ministry. So in a year, we serve over 1,500 children, youth, and families. I'm not sure if you know what's going on in the community, but our number one reason for referral is anxiety, and our number two is family conflict. 200 youth this year have reported having mental health concerns. 35 youth have been attempted suicide or been planning suicide when they've referred to us. And some of these have been very serious attempts. I'm happy to report that that's how they referred to us, not referred out. We've been very successful. Any of the youth in the community you see that are suicidal are generally not already actively seeing us, so we get them from the hospital, ledger, doctors. So that's kind of the idea of the caseloads that we're working with. The counselors have very busy caseloads. We have an 82 youth wait list now, which is actually embarrassing for us. We don't really like to run with more than a 2-week waiting list. We're looking at almost 2 months. So the state of the community, as you're probably all feeling it, and the teachers are feeling it, is heightening. So 108 referrals came from your schools. So we worked with 220 individuals or families that were referred from your schools this year. And that's an approximate, that's when that we've captured that referral. It might have been from a teacher that told a parent, and then that would be the parent. Only 12 of those were from the alternate program. So I know we work really closely with the alternate schools, but 108 of the clients were actually not the alternate. But we do work with the alternate, of course, very closely. So I guess the message I want to give today is that for Couch of Value Services, what I'm most proud of is we have an amazing team. I would encourage any of you to talk to the school counselors or the teachers that have worked with any of the team. I'm very proud that I know they work very well with others. They get paid bachelor wages. We're a nonprofit. All but one of my counselors have masters. Not mine, but the team have master's degrees and are registered clinical counselors. The level of skill and the level of care and compassion at our office is mind-blowing, and so that's what I'm most proud of. We all believe youth are valuable. We all believe in the potential in the youth. We get attached to every single one of them. We love the families we work with, and we're all committed. So, I encourage you to talk to the schools. Most of them are from the counselors. We work through trauma-informed, youth-centered, and heart-centered work. So those are the things we do. So I just wanted to introduce Danielle, and she's going to talk about why we're here, which is the the Leadership and Resiliency Program. Told you I'd talk fast. This one is a public safety funding. It took us 2 years to get this funding. It was really difficult to get. They only gave out a little bit throughout the communities. It was a $1.3 million grant for 5 years. We got it in 2014. It's a 5-year contract. It's just a certain model that you have to work in that comes out of the States, actually. And we could deliver it in any way we wanted. As a team, we decided that partnering with the schools was probably best for our community. We want to catch the kids when they're in school still, and when the teachers are seeing they're experiencing difficulties, that's the best time, not when they're kicked out of school, not when they're homeless. That's a hard time to work with people in crisis. So we actually went around to all the different schools and did some presentations on about how we wanted to deliver this program. And then we were waiting to hear about what we needed was some champion teachers who wanted to support us doing it, and some motivated administrators, because we'd be in their school. And so we actually had a good response, and we only had 2 programs we were going to run. And Lake Cowichan was very vocal. Now, our services don't extend to Lake Cowichan. It's the one area we don't get funded to deliver service. But Nicole at Boucher at the time, she was very, very motivated. So we said, okay, fine, we'll do it in Lake Cowichan. She was very flexible and open. And they have a lot of kids in Lake Cowichan that were really struggling. So we said, okay, let's give it a try. And Chemainus. So those were our 2 choices in the beginning. I went to the unions, talked to the unions, because of course people start to worry, what are you offering in the schools? Yeah, the unions were happy, the teachers were happy, and so we offered training. The teachers who were interested had joined in our training. Some administrators showed up. We had it at CVOLC, and we offered it. This program paid for the training. And then we have an advisory group that we formed, which is Child and Youth Mental Health, Ministry of Children and Families, Larry from CVOLC. We have policing on it. Aboriginal policing, sometimes when they can make it, they're pretty busy. Youth and Family Substance Use, they come up from Nanaimo as a manager there. Recreation, Denise, and so we check in with them, and they kind of give us guidance as to what we should try next, where we should go. And so Danielle's going to talk to you about our pilot for next year, which is why we're here, what we're excited about. And basically, it's just morphed into a really good partnership with the schools, and we're excited to tell you about it. We're on our 4th year, and we just wanted you to know how it's going and what we're doing. We have no ask, so we're just here to tell you and answer questions. We're not asking for anything, so you can. We'll see you at the time. I'm just kidding. Okay, so Danielle, I'm going to leave you to talk about the Leadership and Resiliency Program.
Okay. Hello. So as Michelle said, we started off in Lake Cowichan and in Chemainus. And then due to the success of the program and the demands of the community, we ended up extending to 4 schools in total. So we're now currently in Kelsey, Quamachin, Chemainus, and Cowhigh. We ended up having to pull out of Lake Cowichan just due to some transportation issues, and it ended up being a bit challenging. As you will learn more about what's in the program, we do adventures where we go to pick up the kids and try to do things in the community, and it was challenging with any weather issues in Lake Cowichan to get out there to get them into things to be able to do a really important component of the program. So what is LRP? See if I can remember how to use PowerPoint.
Wait, sir.
I think I just press play.
Yeah, so if you just,
Oh,
There we go.
Yeah.
All right. So who refers to LRP? We receive referrals from teachers, social workers, administrators, counselors. It's meant to be a preventative program, so we're really targeting youth that are starting to slip through the cracks and starting to create a little bit of concern among the adults that are involved in their lives. So we really want to try to find those youth that maybe don't feel like they have someone, maybe they don't feel like they have a sense of belonging or a sense of community, and we're trying to create that sense of belonging within this program. We usually work with kids 13 to 18, but I believe, like the term that Michelle used, with soft edges, and we've had kids from age 12, I think, in some of our summer programming. And we also rate the kids based on their risk assessment, so we try to have we have a 3-point risk assessment, and these are based on low school achievement, negative attitudes towards school, antisocial behavior, alienation, favorable attitudes towards substance use, family dysfunction, parental factors, lifestyle and health, and neighborhood characteristics. So I don't know how well you can see the darker numbers, but based on how many of these factors show up, we consider them to be low risk, medium risk, or high risk. And that's how we figure out what risk level they're at. So for our current schools we're in, we are serving 33 young people. 6 are in the low category, 15 are in the medium category, and 12 are in the high category. So these kids are facing a lot of barriers, and there's a lot going on. It's very complex. Kids usually, as you know, a lot of kids will come to us presenting with one thing, and as soon as you start to dig a little deeper, a lot of things come out. So what do we do in LRP? So once a week we go to the schools who have really generously given us a space to run our groups in. We do resiliency groups where we basically do activities and try to do creative facilitation and ways of learning. So the underlying intention is belonging, having a place where you're safe to be yourself, having a place where you're valued for being your genuine self, as well as helping kids learn healthy coping skills, healthy communication, what a healthy relationship looks like, and ultimately build some self-confidence, some resiliency within them. So a lot of the resiliency groups focus more on like the coping strategies and workshop type activities, doing arts and crafts, and to go for a walk, mindfulness work, things like that. We always provide a warm meal for these kids. A lot of them don't get a warm meal at home. We find bringing people together once a really good way to get them to show up. And once they've bought in, we don't need the food as much, but they love to come in. We all gather around a meal and just chat and check in and have a meal. They know they can come there and be fed and feel safe and comfortable. And once a month, we take them out for an adventure. We have a really awesome adventure budget, so we've been able to do a lot of different things. We've gone whale watching, we've gone zip lining, we've gone kayaking, rock climbing, we've gone horseback riding, we've done all sorts of different activities, and we try to give the youth some decision in what that looks like and what they feel like. Actually, we had a group today that went and did the Wild Play zipline course, which apparently is actually pretty scary. So they really overcame some obstacles, and the whole point of the adventures is through these kind of healthy risks or manageable risks, they're learning to build the resiliency within themselves. And then lastly, there's a service learning portion, which is meant to have them enroll in their community and giving back to the community. So we do little projects like every Christmas we've done hampers by figuring out who in the community needs some support around Christmas time. The kids help participate in getting the items and putting the hampers together. We've done homelessness care kits where we help have the kids think about what would you need? What would you need for a night on the streets, and how can we help these people? And also have them feeling like they're giving back to their community.
Danielle, we're a wee bit beyond the 10 minutes,
Oh.
so if you could.
I can rush it along. We just got some pictures. And I think I've already spoken a little bit about this, what the kids get out of LRP, confidence. Contract. So our goal was to serve 120 youth, and at this point, we've already surpassed it at 150 youth, and we project being able to serve 200 by the end of the contract, which is really exciting. And moving forward, one of the goals we're thinking about doing is having a bridging program. So we're going to start a pilot project in January 2019, where we're hoping to go into one of the elementary schools. I'm going to be meeting with the principal at Coheman, and it's come up that the need in the community that's not being met is that some kids are getting lost in that transition from grade 7 to grade 8. So we're thinking about using this project to see if it would be beneficial to create this little community, this little group in a grade 7 class, have a check-in point or two over the summer, and then move that same group over to grade 8 so they've got that sense of community, that sense of safety and belonging, and a support network already built in for when they go into grade 8. Try to help them from slipping through the cracks. I think that might be it. There's some positive feedback we've had. We've had really positive feedback from the school admin, from the counselors, from the youth. And thank you, and do you have any questions?
Thank you, Danielle. Any comments or questions from trustees? Trustee Hutchins.
Sorry, I was late for the introduction, but how do you know when a child is ready to transition out of that resiliency group?
Well, it's a year-long program. So we usually try to make sure that coming up to June, it's usually in the program with the school year, if they're looking like they still need additional support, we have direct access to the counselors at COS, so we can offer them individual supports in that way. And we just do a lot of closure and transition and talking about, what is it like when you've had this support for 9 months and now it's not going to be there? How do we continue to make sure you've got support?
So I can't, if I'm a slow learner, late bloomer, I can't do it this following year?
No, you can't do it the following year. There is summer programming every year that you can be involved in, but it's a year-long program as it's currently set up.
Well done, thank you.
Thank you. Further questions from trustees? Trustee Thorne?
Just to comment, I'm really impressed with what I've heard. You know, I see this a lot in my neighborhood, and I do go to the hospitals. You know, we've had, Trustee Smith has helped at times when we feed the homeless people, so we see firsthand what's out there. And Michelle, we're buddies, so I know that if she's involved in it, it's gotta be sincere, so I really appreciate what I've tried to absorb in a short time.
Thank you.
And we will be meeting again.
Thank you. It's a really amazing project that we have the honor of being able to present to these kids. I'm really lucky.
Well, thank you so much for coming to present to us, and thank you to you for the program and to the society for all that you're doing for the kids in our schools. We really appreciate your help.
Thank you.
So thank you.
And thank you for your continued support also. This wouldn't be possible without the collaboration of the schools and, you know, using the space and help. The counselors are always so supportive, the admin staff is so supportive, so we really appreciate that too.
Thank you, and it's good to hear. Okay, moving to recognition of Brian Stroff. Brian has been invited here this evening.
I have
Come
nothing
on
to say.
forward.
Do I stand or just sit?
Well, just stand and I will tell a bit about you. Brian has been a teacher in the district for 44 years. He received his first teaching appointment in June 1974 as an intermediate teacher at Bench Elementary School. It was followed by teaching assignments at Satlam Elementary, Mill Bay Elementary, Quamachin Middle, Duncan Elementary, and Mount Prevost Middle, where he taught for 17 years. Brian's final teaching assignment has been at Cowichan Secondary, where he has taught for the last 5 years. After 44 years as a teacher in the district, Brian will be retiring at the end of June. Now, Brian told a colleague about 17 years ago that as a student he had attended Duncan L, Mount Prevost, and Cal High. At the time, he had already held a contract at Duncan L, and he was currently at Mount Prevost. He said that it was his dream to teach at all 3 schools where he'd been a student. With his recent move to Cowichan Secondary, and specifically to the James Street campus this past semester, he has realized his dream.
I see Nicole behind this.
Well, perhaps. Brian is known for his love of chocolate, for always having a good story to tell, for being an uber athlete runner, for having a sense of humor and being able to laugh at himself, and for occasionally losing his keys and glasses. More than anything else, he is known for his love of teaching and his dedication to his learners. Whether he is inspiring students to realize their potential in athletics or helping them with a hard math problem, he is ever devoted to the children of School District 79. And on behalf of the board, I present to you one of the things that is supposed to be something of interest. So congratulations, Brian. Is there anything you'd like to say?
I feel I should say something, so I won't say much. I've enjoyed nearly every minute of it. I can't think of a better thing to do than teach. Interestingly enough, my very first day, when I was supposed to be here, I had to call a sub in. I was stuck in England and the jet couldn't take off, so I phoned my mother over here. My mother phoned Al McLeod. Al McLeod phoned a sub. So my very first day where I was supposed to be teaching for the district, I wasn't. Anyway,
We
Thank
won't
you very
deduct
much.
it.
Thank you for all the work all of you do, and I'll be seeing you around.
Yes.
Probably at the brew pub on a Friday night.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
The next D area of recognition is trustee recognition. And at the BCSTA AGM, there were a number of certificates that were given out, and then trustees who were not available at the BCSTA AGM, they were sent to us. And so I am honored to present those to people who were unable to attend the BCSTA. At that ceremony, people who are here received a first year certificate. Trustee Croft, Trustee Thorne, and Trustee Hutchins. Pardon me?
Excuse me,
Yes.
first term.
Pardon me, did I say first year? Yes, I keep doing that, sorry. First term, which in this case is 4 years. Okay. The trustee in his first term completion, who was not there, was Trustee Dolan. So, on behalf of BCSTA, congratulations.
It's not a graduation certificate.
And then there are 3-term presentations. I received mine at the ceremony, but there are 2 people with us who did not. And let me see. Trustee DeGroot and your 3-term pin. Congratulations. And Trustee Schmidt and I have a bit of interest around terms. Both of us were presented our 2-year term, which was not sufficient because this is our 3rd term. So we each have 2-year terms and 3-year terms. Tennis certificates and pins. Congratulations. All right, that is it. What, a half term?
Yeah.
No, we don't.
3 elections.
We went through the campaign. That's enough.
That's a term, okay.
Yes. All right, moving to closed meeting report. Mr. Secretary Turner.
Thank you. At 3:30 earlier today, the board met in closed session and they discussed a facilities request, some personnel items, and the upcoming trustee election.
Thank you. Moving to item 6, old business A action list, and you will notice that it is completed. Well done, staff and trustees. Moving to board policy handbook. As you are aware of the amount of time that particularly staff and some trustees have spent to develop a policy book and then an administrative procedures handbook with a consultant has been extensive. We thought that our policy book was huge when we started, and we thought we'd have a lot less policy. We do, in a way, because what has been in our policy book in the past was separated into what is governance and then what is administrative policy. And if we look at the governance section that's here, it is only those policies that directly relate to our work, to the governance of the school district. There are many, 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 many more administrative procedures that have been developed, but I believe they are not quite completed, and so they will come forward in September. Tonight we only deal with the board policy handbook that is part of our new governance structure that this board created. Mr. Superintendent, do you want to talk anything about the administrative procedures?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The admin procedures work began after the policy work was completed. And as Chair Spilsbury said, it's a relatively extensive undertaking. The vast majority of that work is complete. There's about 10 admin procedures that need some fairly significant work by more than one person. And so what we found in late May and June is it's difficult to get 5 or 6 of us together for half a day on some consecutive days to complete that work. And we don't want to rush it, we want to get it right, because those are some quite complex admin procedures. And so after consultation with the chair, we have decided to leave that until, because this work doesn't become effective until September, to give ourselves some time over the summer to complete those last remaining admin procedures and then present the entire piece in September. Bring those forward to you.
Thank you. Just one other feature of the policy handbook and the administrative procedures is it's a living document. So any of these policies can be changed given our instruction to do so, or if it comes through staff, or if it comes through a community member. So at this point, we looked at the policies at BEBC. This is a motion that was passed there to bring them forward, and the motion is there. Is there a mover? Moved by Trustee Dolan, seconded by Trustee DeGroot. Trustee Schmidt.
Is this to rescind the old policy handbook or the new one?
It's the new one, but it also rescinds the old one,
So,
and effective September.
so then I'd like
Trustee
to
Schmidt.
speak.
Mhm.
There's a part of this handbook that I know I opposed at board planning when we built this. And I feel that, I know that my time here is coming to an end. However, I still feel that I need to speak about this because I'm passionate about it. At the beginning of the meeting, you recognized a trustee by the name of Wilma Rowan, who was a big teacher for me, and I met her at DPAC. I also met Mary Jo Wilson, Christine Sandu, Pam Campbell, Julie Thomas, Brian Simmons, Di Gunderson, and Gary Gunderson, and they supported me whether it was through DPAC or whether they came to my PAT meetings. And I wouldn't have ever ended up at this table if it wasn't these very prominent people in my life taking me under their wing and teaching me what their role was about, what it was like. And I know that in our conversations when we talked about this before, that it wasn't, that folks supported it, that's why it's in here. However, I wanna again post strong opposition to it. The role that I value when I was a parent coming through the ranks was that I had somebody that I could be guided by, somebody that I could trust, and somebody that I could look up to learn by. And Mary Jo and Wilma and Pam Campbell were 3 very prominent women in my life. And they did a lot. They convinced me that my role as a parent and my role with them was important. And I think it still remains that today. And I think with this new policy manual saying that trustees will no longer be at PAC, trustees will no longer be at DPAC, which it clearly states, but also in consultation with yourself at DSAC as well, I think that closing that door on parents is a huge mistake. I enjoy my time at PAC meetings. I enjoy the fact that PACs enjoy me there and that they invite me there. I think it's an important bridge because they're our biggest stakeholder in education. I don't believe that PACs will come to this table to talk to the corporate board. I don't believe that there's a danger of trustees and PAC meetings. I don't believe it only because the only reason why I'm here is because trustees took the time to come to my meetings. When it comes to budget time, the board doesn't have liaison meetings with students. We don't have them at our table. And so to have the board no longer be involved with DSAC, I think is even harder because that was the only place I was really learning the student voice unless I went and sought those kids out. But I was only able to seek them out because I knew them through DSAC. So I'm gonna vote against this policy manual tonight because I think that this piece, I mean, there's a couple other pieces that I could take or give, but this piece for me, as I'm pulling out of this role, the only reason why I'm here is because of it. And I think it's sad that the board is closing that door to working with parents at DPAC or at PACS. And I fear that there may be other parents that were like me that may never have the opportunity I had because of the education I got from such amazing women. So there you go.
Thank you. And the policy is silent on DSAC, just so you know. There is no reference to
Just as a
DSAC.
clarification though, I did ask you if that meant that no trustee at DSAC, and you said yes, it wasn't mentioned.
Well, not everything I'd say is absolutely on track. The DSAC is not referenced here, so the new board can make a decision on any kind of community and school liaisons that we want to establish. Thank you. Okay. Trustee Croft.
I believe the actual phrasing is that attending DSAC and DPAC and PAC meetings is not in the trustee role. Is that verboten or frowned upon? There's a lot of things that aren't in my role and are perfectly okay.
It's defined as liaison, not if a PAC or DSAC or DPAC wants to a trustee to attend on a particular meeting, there is no reason why a trustee can't attend the meeting. What it is, though, is the trustee is not there as a liaison, so that the communication from the board to the PAC or DPAC is flowing. Like our responsibility as a liaison is to make that communication both ways, so there and back. So it takes the liaison role out of that relationship. Trustee Hutchins?
And I also understood that we didn't have to be there by invitation, as the PAC meetings are public meetings and open, and we have an opportunity to attend, if we so desire, but not as a liaison.
I'm not sure that we've really fleshed it out to that depth, but the liaison piece is the one that is in the policy. So
Yes.
how it translates in the future may look different from the way we have experienced it, or it will look different because it isn't a liaison relationship. Other comments about the motion that's on the table, which is to adopt the policy handbook effective September 1st. Any further comments? Trustee Thorne.
I know we look at this from a lot of diverse views. Everybody at this table has their own opinion on views. We've gone through so many challenges, as is every school. You look at some of the things that we talked about over and over, and we tried, no, trying is lying, I can't say tried. We're doing our best to make sure that it's always student first. They've always been and they will always be the priority. And it was why I supported it, and I understood that we could still have DPAC, I did. I would never, or DSAC, I wouldn't leave that because I enjoy the time, as Kathy said. We get to understand things and we learn things because they're forever teaching me how the kids are changing. And that's important. I just wish, I secretly felt like saying last night at the internationals, we didn't have an international student at this DSAC this year. And I missed that. I didn't see an Aboriginal there, and I missed that. But still, I saw everybody work as a key unit. So that's just my 2 cents. I even today we went through something at one of the schools, and the teamwork has been phenomenal. And the changes, this document is living, so we could change some of the things by September when we see the final. You know, it's ever evolving, but the priority will always be student first.
Thank you. Trustee Cross?
I just wanted to support Joe on the living document piece, because I think it's really important that any governing board not become more bound by policy, but to always know that policy is created for a purpose and therefore has to be examined from time to time.
Thank you. Trustee Hutchins?
Could you kindly remind me why we're adopting this for September 1st rather than July 1st? Doesn't our
I think it
school
was
year start
starting,
July?
Mr. Singh.
It was to allow us the time to get the admin procedures to
Got it.
Okay.
align.
You
Thank
want to
you.
work over the summer.
Yes.
love to know. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further on the motion? Okay. All those in favor? Those opposed? The motion carries. Would you like your negative vote recorded?
Yes, please.
Okay,
Capital
thank
letters.
you. Okay, moving to item 6, old business. Item C, CVRD Visions 2050. You'll remember that at the last meeting, Bev Suderman from CVRD came and talked about the project that they have initiated around Cowichan 2050. And there's a motion here that we accept their invitation to participate in that exercise. As I think you are aware, our staff is currently on their staff committee, and I believe that's all that they have organized. I'm not sure, but this leaves the door open for board and staff to be involved in that project. Trustee Croft? So moved. Moved by Trustee Croft, seconded by Trustee Thorne. Any conversation? Trustee Schmidt?
Just a question, when does that work begin?
It's already begun.
No, I know, but when would be the involvement of trustees?
Start.
2 weeks ago was the first one, we should have had somebody there.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But it's 2050.
Yes, we have time.
I was just curious when the work would start.
Okay, anything further on the motion? All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Item 7, Superintendent of Schools, Mr. Allen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm afraid I have a somewhat lengthy report. To begin with, I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce Kim Ondrick to you, the lovely and talented Kim Ondrick.
Welcome.
Kim is the new principal of Mill Bay Nature School, yet to be officially named. And it comes to us from Vernon, where she was the creator and head teacher at the Vernon Community School. So this isn't Kim's first time at creating programs such as this, although I think this presents some unique and interesting challenges and opportunities for Kim. So we're super pleased that Kim decided to make a move to the island and to the valley, and she brings a few years of experience with her as absolutely an exemplary teacher and educator and leader, and we're just really excited to have Kim with us. And knowing Kim, she may want to say something.
Really? Yeah, I just want to say thank you for having the imagination, whoever imagined this. I think a lot of people, this idea of having a nature school. Since I got here tomorrow, have been here for 3 weeks, and everywhere I go, doors are just swinging open. Every community group, every parent I meet, it's very exciting. So whoever imagined this and enacted it was like huge wisdom, because it's people are even saying, well, how are we going to do this in the north now, and how are we going to do so? And I don't think I've always been a disruptor in education, and so yeah, sorry, yeah. And actually, Candace and I worked together in Burnaby when I was a brand new teacher, which is really cool. So I've been a disruptor and it's been exciting to be here for 3 weeks and feel like I'm sort of riding this very exciting wave as opposed to swimming upstream. So I'm, Rod and I talked the other day, it's almost like being a doula of a school, birthing a school. A new school is a privilege that very few, all teachers dream of and very few people get the opportunity to do. So I feel very fortunate. And I have kind of like birth announcements that I'm handing out all over the community, so I'm giving you one. And I hope you all know you're welcome to visit and be a part of it. So yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you, Kim, and a warm welcome from the board and from the district. Thank you for coming. Oh, hold it.
Kim, Don Balcom speaks very highly of you. It's also from Vernon. But besides handing out birth announcements, how do you take this on? Like, what's your first job? Like, when do you start?
Well, it's kind of PR and marketing, connecting with people in the community, putting out job postings, which I was doing when I was working in Vernon still, because I took up the responsibility and still had to finish until they found someone to replace me there. So I've hired some teachers already, and I'm looking forward to hiring some more. There are people who are really excited to do it as well. Connecting with families, creating community. We've already had a parent meeting. We had 200 people show up in Mill Bay Field with boarded up windows. Like I was sort of like, eh. They were so enthusiastic, asked fantastic questions. I didn't do a presentation. I just said, hey, this is me. And I thought I would demonstrate better my capacity and my who I am through just answering questions. And then have said to parents who are confused, you know, invite me over. My family's still in Vernon. So I said I'm always happy to have a dinner with the family. So two food meals. And I think in a community like Cobble Hill, that goes a long way. People talk. And so that's the beginning. So it's building community first. In terms of, sorry,
What's coming up soon? You've got
a potluck picnic. So every month we're going to have events on seed planting, just so both literally and figuratively. So planting some seeds in the field, in the area. And Denise and I have gone and visited the neighbors last night, and they're super stoked that we're going to be there, and they want to be mentors. So we're not just going to be a nature school. We're also going to try education in a different way, and that's what I'm good at. So inviting people in. Having coffee always available. In Vernon, we had 45 community mentor volunteers who came in regularly into our school and felt the reciprocity. I'm giving something, but I'm getting something back. So yeah, it's building community, being seen in community. I feel like I'm speed dating. Like I'm constantly meeting people and having coffee and talking to people, and to have this time is a privilege. That doesn't happen very often. Usually you have your position start in September. So that's another huge privilege. I think we'll be able to start something very powerful. I'm excited.
Kim, when you say meeting the neighbors, how did that look last night?
Denise, do you want to talk about that? We literally, Denise was dressed like she was about 16, and I was dressed more formally, and we actually went and knocked on people's doors and said hi. And we introduced ourselves and said we're starting the school. I had birth announcements. And we were both serious and funny, and everyone was warm and welcoming and happy that the school's reopening, because it's kind of sad.
I think they were a bit curious at first, trying to figure out.
But we're
not Jehovah's Witnesses.
not selling Girl Guide
What
cookies.
you're doing.
Yeah, so that was, so we're just working in different ways, and I think in being like that, we're also saying we're real people who have some ideas and really care about kids, exactly what you were just saying. And I think the number one way to do that is to build community. And for me, just to have the spirit of this school district and the board and the superintendent sort of saying, go forth and do what you can do well, goes a long way for me. Because I've spent 30 years as a disruptor against the flow, literally, my whole career up till now. So I have a lot of energy and enthusiasm and smiling, because it's not, it's working with movement that is already happening here. So yeah, it's a privilege.
And you already know my genius heel.
Are you sharing that?
No.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Kim.
Yeah, thanks.
I just hope Kim can develop some passion over this.
I don't know if I'm lacking energy, yeah.
Vice principal movement, as the board's aware, we've added a vice principalship to Chemainus Elementary, as their numbers are increasing over time, which created some movement. So I won't go through the whole list, but the changes around the vice principals. Ashley Bell has moved from Maple Bay to Chemainus to fill that new position, which caused some tumble. Camilla Arscott Bandari has moved from Drinkwater to Maple Bay, and trying to get this in the right order, Rhonda Fitzpatrick has moved from bench to Drinkwater, and Vanessa McDougall has moved from vice principal at Cowichan Secondary to vice principal at bench. So a bit of a new team in the VP world out there, and principals are all staying the same.
Thank you.
District update. As trustees might be aware, we're doing some rebranding on our DL program. So if you're seeing things about the Grove, that's sort of the metaphor that we're beginning to use around the DL program. The different aspects of the program have different states of growth. I think there are saplings and twigs and roots and berries and various things for different ages of the DL program. And already we're seeing some quite positive uptake there. We had a group from Harvard visiting us, and a consultant from Oakland were here on May 9th and 10th, and Amelia Peterson was here 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th, visiting us as well from Harvard, continuing her research. That went really well and had some really fascinating, having guests is always an opportunity to help people see things through their eyes. And in particular, when we took the group to down to Kelsey and having a pretty in-depth visit at Kelsey and tour of Kelsey was excellent. And Jeff, the principal there, continues to talk about that opportunity to talk about events that how Kelsey's transformed over the last number of years. It's a great opportunity to sort of summarize your thinking. So it's always good to have guests. And we will be continuing to work with Harvard over the next few years on another project under Professor Joe Almeida, looking at districts that are engaged in movement, change, transformation, choose your term, to get deeper learning in classrooms. So we will continue to work with them as well as with the research that Amelia is doing. Shelley Moore was here May 15th and 16th, and stunning as always with Shelley, working on inclusion, working with large numbers of our teachers, changing the hearts and minds, and really helping us understand not just why inclusion is so important, but how, and really helping us think through that. Big thanks to Cheryl and the team, and Denise and Debbie for putting that together. Lots of folks engaged. As you know, we had a distributed learning audit. The joy of another audit opportunity is always great, and it went incredibly well. Huge thanks to the CVOLC folks. Having Colleen, the audit whisperer, is great. And in fact, not only do we come out scot-free on the audit, they took some of our processes away and are wanting to advertise those more provincially, thinking why aren't all districts and schools doing some of the things that we're doing, especially around careers, WEX, and those things through distributed learning. they were staggered by what we're doing. And in fact, on the second day of the audit, probably shouldn't say this with the cameras on. On the second day of the audit, they were a little bored and said, "Can we go tour some cool stuff? Because I think we're good here." And so we went and sort of showed them the end product of how the processes that we're using through DL, not exclusively, but WEX and those kinds of work experience and careers. And we took them to the trade center, and they could really start to understand and see that all in action, see the end product, and then and more deeply understand the process that we're using, which is quite innovative, perhaps unique in the province, and then took away our stuff and said, we need to share this with everybody else. So kudos to Scott and Colleen and Larry and the gang there did an amazing job. And it sounds like everything went well. That's also because we were incredibly prepared. So that's clerical staff, everyone, just the preparation for those is extraordinary, and that's when it goes really well, when you're uber prepared. And it's great having Colleen around, because she, like I say, is the audit whisperer and is now in demand in other districts. She was in Vernon recently, helping them out after their audit. Didn't go perhaps quite as well, helping them think about the next one. Clam Gardens, yes, thank you. I had the opportunity last week, as did the Secretary Treasurer, who squandered it in order to bring you a budget. Something about priorities. However, an opportunity to go to the Clam Gardens on Russell Island. You can see a picture there. It doesn't quite do it justice. An amazing, transformative day for students. One, you get to go with kids and hang out with kids, and that's always awesome. Kids in our district who are secondary students who've never had salmon before. Kids in our district who've never really been and spent much time on a beach, with a stick, walking on the rocks and poking in the crevices and identifying things that we just kind of assume. Parks Canada staff was, they were there in force 15, I don't know, a pile of young, committed, young scientists who guiding us through that, alongside shoulder to shoulder with elders from Cowichan and some elders from Saanich. And what impressed me the most and is hardest to put into words was it could have been an opportunity for sort of a push-pull between traditional wisdom and knowledge and scientific wisdom and knowledge, and it was none of that. It was absolutely, we're all in this together, we're trying to learn together. How do we pool all the things that we know to get to a better understanding of this place? And it was also an example of, I think, of what we're trying to get to when you think about a transformed classroom. So one of the senior students, grade 11 student from Shemana, said, "Why isn't science like this every day?" So I have put into the Secretary Treasurer a request to purchase Russell Island. He's again being cranky and saying no. But how do we get more of those opportunities for kids? And it just speaks to the nature school. So pretty cool.
How does he get to
Russell
Get on the bus. We took the Crofton Ferry over to Salt Spring, Gulf Islands. Folks picked us up, drove us across Salt Spring Island to Fulford Harbor, and got on Parks Canada boats. So it was a partnership through Parks Canada, a 5-year partnership. This isn't new, but is really becoming an amazing opportunity. And there's other clam gardens that our students go to other than Russell Island. There's one right in Fulford Harbor, and but this happened to be Russell Island. And one of the joys, you can see in the picture, you can see the clam garden, you can see that little thin rock wall that's getting built out. And I could talk for a long time about what that's all about, but you can only go at low tide. That doesn't exist at high tide. And so you have to pick days of the year, if you're dealing with kids, where low tide is in the middle of the day when you can get there, and the buses and all those things work out, and Parks Canada staff is available. And so the contributions, significant. I mean, I think Fort Rod Hill lost half of its green shirted people for the week. Well, we had kids out there 3 days that week, 4 days, 3 days that week where they gathered the staff from across the Sydney area. Quite remarkable, having a bunch of boats at the beck and call, ferrying kids and elders and folks back and forth. It was really a pretty remarkable experience. How do we get 8,000 kids a year through that? Mini-O, we had Mini-O, Mini Olympics, 4th annual. It felt like longer to me, but it was, again, awesome. And the Liz and the international kids really support that and work hard. Our secretary treasurer was our honorary athlete at the event, and I think participated in every race.
Yeah.
Almost won a couple.
Lost every one of them.
Yeah. Liz had promised cheeseburgers to all the kids that could beat him, and unfortunately every kid beat Mr. Sanquist, who's gone back into training.
And it took you hours to it was long.
It's a great event, opened with First Nations drummers and so on, and yeah, it's super cool. And kudos to all the staff, district staff and school staff that work so hard to pull that off for the kids. It's really quite an opportunity. And again, would encourage trustees next year when it rolls around again to, Janice was there to come and take a look and see what it's about. Pretty exciting.
I think Trustee Croft was there.
That's right, Trustee Croft, absolutely. Trustee
Just so eminently forgettable.
Croft.
It was awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. District scholarships, am I going in the right order? Am I in the same order? Regina is awesome. This year we had 91 students participated in district scholarship opportunities. Presentations at each of the secondary schools in Seabulk. Topics ranged from physical activity, community service, fine arts, technology and trades, applied design, science and technology, etc. You can see many of the smiley faces. This year, we were able to give out 77 awards valued at $1,250 a piece for a total of $96,000 plus dollars. And winners will get announced at the local school ceremonies where those kids will get announced. Thanks to a whole number of folks, trustees and staff who participate in judging those scholarships. It's tough. That's a tough job. How do you pick when they're all so unique and special? And
Yes.
Thanks to Cheryl and her team who helped to put that together and build criteria. And it's pretty awesome. Kids talking about things that they're passionate about. Skills Canada 2018 national competition is happening as we speak. I have not yet received a text from Larry Matten, who's with the kids in Edmonton at the national competition. We have 2 students competing. You met them last month. Taylor Walters, Kelsey student in public speaking, and a dual credit student, Lawson Wallace in refrigeration, and we don't know how they're doing, but they're there right now competing, so bring you an update when we hear. Youth apprenticeship scholarships, careers department secured another 3 $500 youth apprenticeship scholarships from Vancouver Island Construction Association for Keena Menzel, Morgan Lamont, and Cooper Gee. Dual credit. There we go. 44 students engaged in a dual credit, 1 credit course opportunity that we were piloting under our Passion Week concept, working with world-renowned artist Connie Walters to learn about art as a career path and refine their skills as artists, creating and then telling a story behind the work and creating a portfolio. You can see some of the student work there. And that's something that we're supported with by the ministry on a pilot project for offering 1 credit courses. Pretty neat model, again, pretty unique in the province, and working well. Coheman Elementary School outdoors classroom. Oh, that's me. sorry, let me,
Trustee Hutchins?
The one credit course, is that like a 30-week session or?
no,
30-hour session or what is it?
close enough, close to 25 hours, 25 hours, over 5 consecutive days or 5 days and 1 day, sort of over 5 weeks, depending on the offering.
Brilliant idea.
Uh-huh.
That's
Uh,
wow,
stu-
people can try so many
You-
different things.
and that's fundable. So that means that there's funding available for teacher release time, because that teacher might be teaching a Math 10 course normally, they can come out of that for those 5 days. And provides a little bit of money as well for transportation if it's needed, because the idea of those courses ultimately is we can mix kids from across the district together around individual areas of passion and get funded for it, and the kids get credit for it. Yet another stunning creative. And the ministry, like I say, is funding us sort of on a bit of a pilot basis this year to see how that works. We're also running them in the summertime.
Thank you. Trustee Thorpe?
I think tomorrow, I think it's tomorrow, the kids from Cal High, Wakwamacha, are going to spend the whole day at the gym with a variety of different artists learning how to paint, carve, to look for something.
Mm-hmm.
So if you got, I'm going to pop by there just out of curiosity, see what it's like.
Thank you.
It's lots going on in your schools right now. This is Cohiman Outdoor Classroom Day. I think this should just play there. But on May 17th, Cohiman Elementary participated in Outdoor Classroom Day. This day was to encourage authentic learning beyond the walls of the classroom and to strengthen learning connections with our community partners. This exciting day saw some powerful impacts. Engagement and excitement increased. Creativity, problem solving, and teamwork were on full display, and the fun of learning took center stage. Big thanks to everybody that was involved in pulling that off. And as you can see from the pictures, all kinds of folks from the community and a whole variety of activities for the kids to participate in, and they had a beautiful sunny day to do it. $74 more slides.
Wow. Gotta cook their own lunch.
Budget cuts. So a brilliant, brilliant day. Tomorrow, the grade 11 a class of grade 11 social studies students from Cowichan Secondary and the SOGI Rainbow Committee from SOGI Secondary, or from Cowichan Secondary, who have been meeting weekly since the beginning of the school year, are meeting with North Cowichan Council to, sorry Gina, I'm out of order, to request rainbowing 2 crosswalks out front of Cow High across to the pool by James Street there, and are sort of learning about their civic responsibility and how decisions like that are made, and are meeting with council tomorrow. Tomorrow night, another great example of kids learning. When we talk about learning embedded in community, this is what it's about, and being citizens. This is what this is about. So great example from Cowichan Secondary. Bench Elementary Robotics. Thank you. Yesterday. Thank you. We brought a robotics competition in from kids across the district, and one team in from Souk district as well, elementary school teams who came in and started the day with a table and a box of Lego essentially, and some robotic parts and some challenges, and had to build, design robots on the spot, and then compete. And these aren't robots that bash into each other, but complete various courses and challenges and so on. And so you saw that this was getting late in the day. This was probably 1 o'clock in the afternoon, when they had been at it and at it and at it, and design number 4025, trying to capture the right number of blocks. And as well, they had stations there for kid interest where kids could experiment with 3D printers. They printed off 2 chess sets. Kids were designing pistons for an engine model and using 3D printers to print those off. So it was just a really, and there was not a discipline issue. There was not a disengaged kid. It was just full on. And one of the interesting things, we often talk about kids and collaboration. What started out as competitive, kids clustered around their stuff on their table, trying to make the best design, quickly became, hey, how'd you do that? That was cool. And it actually became a really collaborative activity. Let's make sure everybody can meet the challenge. Pretty cool. Souk's doing one, I believe, next week, sort of based on this model, so they had a team up here to see how this worked. Uber cool. Great opportunity for the kids. Students at George Bonner building birdhouses, designing and building birdhouses, sort of a maker inquiry process as they plan and design and build those. We have kindergarten kids designing and building bat houses, and some older kids now working with Craig Lordson and designing sensors so they can actually track the number of bats in the vicinity living near the bat houses. So they're designing those using Raspberry Pis. It's the electronic device, not the eating thing, not the food. Bonner kids picked up more than 260 kilograms of garbage from Shawnigan Creek watershed as part of their work. Kelsey secondary kids peer tutoring, work with primary kids, and a visit to Cairnsmore Lodge. Thank you, Gina. Cairnsmore Lodge. Interacting with our youngest and oldest members of our community, and the drama class performed Robert Munch plays for younger kids at Bench, Bonner, and Discovery. Pretty cool. Spring musical at Discovery. Chemanis Elementary jump rope for Heart. It's June, and just wild amounts of things going on in our schools, which is pretty cool because that's really what we're all here for. Thank you for indulging me bragging about some of the cool stuff going on. Also, would like to bring you a recommendation around the naming of Quamachin School. The principal at Quam has met with all of the students, met with staff, a number of conversations over the coming months. Our new policy states that schools are named by the board upon recommendation, so I am bringing you a recommendation tonight that the name of Quam School be, drumroll please, Quamachin School.
So thank you. Moved by trustee Drew, seconded by trustee Hutchins. Any conversation? All those in favor? Motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Anticipating a question coming up about Mill Bay Nature School. That will get formally named as we get kids and staff and community engaged, and Kim really wants that to be part of activity of that school. You should be able to name yourself. So it's under the working title right now of Mill Bay Nature School. To be determined what that comes out like. For board information, school fees and deposit schedule, which is on page 93. We are asked each year to bring this to you, not for approval, but for your information. And so you see that schedule of fees here, not significantly different from last year.
Any questions from trustees? Okay.
And you can see, of course, there is a financial hardship policy, which is part of our board policy and our main procedures as well. School calendar on page 94, you see before you, which I believe, again, thank you to Cheryl for her tenacity on rattling this to the ground. I believe this is the final schedule, school calendar. And this will be submitted to the ministry. The Cowichan Secondary School project definition report, the famous PDR. Just to say a few words about that. As you know, with Cowichan Secondary, we're engaged in a project definition report phase with the ministry, which means that we are on the list. Which list exactly to be determined, but we know we're on a list. That's taken us, you could say, 20 years to hit the list, but however, we're now on the list. That PDR has a variety of asks of us that we have to, questions we have to answer, and a variety of scenarios we have to prepare information for. We're well involved in that process. That's ticking along nicely. Sort of wanted to bring to your attention here publicly how great the partnership with the ministry has been on this. They have been supportive. They've answered every question in a timely way. They've given us good hints and advice and tips, and we really believe that they are working with us on this, not putting roadblocks in our way, but really helping us understand the process and move through it as quickly as we can. Our anticipation is to have that report to the board and then to the ministry. Late September would be spectacular, more likely in October. So we can get that in early into Treasury Board, because we know that we want to get the first tranche of Treasury Board decisions in the fall, not the second tranche in February. We'll want to be towards the front of that pile. And the ministry couldn't offer us better advice or timely advice or support along the way. So it's been great. And our community partners, of course, continue to be amazing as we start working with them for letters of how they're willing to collaborate and work with us. And so that process is working along well. We'll have a bunch more information for you in the fall as we get tighter in that. We've engaged architects and a variety of folks to help work us through that. So kudos to the ministry for their support with this. For board action 7.3, academy fees. You see before you on page 596. Sure.
I have a question about that. Because this money isn't coming to the district, it's going to, like, we're paying somebody this fee? Like, how is that working out? Sorry.
We will take that off the project, so that the costs we incur for developing the PDR.
No, I'm on the
She's on
academy.
academy.
Oh, on the academy? Yeah, sorry, okay. Sorry, which
So
question? I'm not
the
thinking of
income,
it.
sorry,
Yes,
for that, so who's how is the academy gonna work?
hockey academy?
Yes.
Same as it has the past number of years. It's money for ice time.
So all that is revenue into the district?
It clears through the schools.
Yeah. Flow through.
Do we have a joint use, sorry, do we have a joint, I know with Lake Cowichan when the Cowichan school uses the ice, do we have the same agreement down there in the south end with the Kerry Park Arena?
It hasn't formally been renewed recently, so we'll have to look into whether or not we have any sort of arrangement between the school and the regional district. But we used to have a formal one, and we haven't signed off on one in a few years.
Okay, so
Well,
you
roughly
believe you'll
kind of-
get it again?
You'll have to have a look and see if that's
Back to you, Mr. Allen.
Sorry, so we're required to bring this forward to you for approval. We have only one academy in the district. We have had, as I've said in the past, some things that we've called academies. We're cleaning that up. We have only one academy officially, and that is the Kelsey Hockey Academy. And you are required annually to approve the fee if you so choose.
Trustee Hutchins, moved by Trustee Hutchins, seconded by Trustee Thorne. Any comments, questions? All those in favor? Motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Chair. National Aboriginal Day is coming up again, and it's now termed National Indigenous Peoples Day. So you have a motion before you. We have had that motion a few times and done this where the board's voted to officially recognize that day.
Change the name.
We will change the name. That we learned of this shift after the agendas went out, but we will shift the name.
Motion moved by trustee Schmidt, seconded by trustee Hutchins. All those in favor? Motion carries. No. New trustee.
Why can't they just call it National Indian Day?
You will choose to ignore that last comment. Okay, moving. Oh,
If I may.
Alan?
I am wondering, and perhaps it's something for a future conversation, but to think about some actions the board may be wanting to inspire in the future. So we're not just saying some words, not that those aren't important because they are, those words, but to think about how might we enact something. And it might be a conversation for next year before coming up to the next Aboriginal Day, so Indigenous Peoples Day. I will not use Mr. Thorne's term, so that we can come perhaps next year with and here's an action or actions we might like to consider.
Thank you.
And that, Madam Chair, is my report. Thank you for your indulgence.
Thank you. Moving to Secretary Treasurer, Mr. Sandquist.
Thank you. We'll just start with, for our board information, BC Summer Games update. We don't really have any new information since the last time we met, other than it's still progressing along and with the July date for the activities. On to 8.2B, playground grant submission. There was a $5 million fund available for districts to apply to, and our district sent in 3 playground applications, one for Mill Bay, one for Alexander, and one for Alex Aiken. Now $5 million at $100,000 a playground is 50 playgrounds provincially. So we were successful in receiving one of those playgrounds. So there's 10 school districts that didn't get a playground, and there'll be a fund again next year where we can try for the other 2. So Mill Bay Elementary was a successful applicant for School District 79 for a universally accessible playground, and $105,000 will be coming in.
Thank you for doing that.
On to board action. We're required to have an trustee election bylaw in place by August. We have no further meetings to do that over July and August. We bring that to the board to give them authority to conduct a trustee election on October the 20th.
Okay, we're moving to first reading of the trustee election bylaw, moved by trustee Schmidt, seconded by trustee Hutchins. All those in favor? Motion carries. Moving to the second motion on second reading to the trustee election bylaw, moved by trustee DeGroot, seconded by trustee Thorne. Any conversation? All those in favor? Motion carries. Moving to the third reading that considers that we have 3 readings. The trustee election bylaw, moved by trustee Schmidt, seconded by trustee Croft. All those in favor? Motion carries. And moving to the last reading, third and final reading to the trustee election bylaw. Moved by trustee Groot, seconded by trustee Dolan. All those in favor? The motion carries.
Thank you. And following that, the board is also required to appoint a chief election officer and a deputy chief election officer. So we bring 2 motions. We have entered into conversations with Robert Harper, the former secretary treasurer of the school district, who also has experience in managing the elections for regional district Port Alberni. And he has agreed, and given the scope of the work that we have coming up with the PDR in October, we felt that it was beyond our internal capacity to do both through the month of October, and bring to you a motion to appoint Robert Harper as our chief election officer.
Moved by trustee Schmidt, seconded by trustee Thorne. All those in favor? Motion carries.
Thank you. And with every chief election officer comes a deputy chief election officer, and Gina Cooper has agreed to take on that role, and we have a motion for you to appoint Gina.
Moved by trustee DeGroot, seconded by trustee Thorne. All those in favor, motion carries.
Thank you. Moving on to the 2018-2019 annual budget. With the budget, we have included a guided tour, which is a document which hopefully answers the questions on what is in the budget and what has changed in the budget from the previous year. Certainly we've been through this for the last 2 and a bit months. We bring the budget forward today on the recommendation of the Board Education and Business Committee. The one component that we're still have not received confirmation on is around the Classroom Enhancement Fund funding. At this time, we're confident in our submission based on the conversations we've had with the ministry, which is why we recommend the adoption of the budget. We can hold on submitting it until June the 30th. That's the date when it's due to the ministry. And if something comes in that's different from what we have reported within this document, we have an opportunity to have a special meeting and rescind this bylaw and adopt a new bylaw. But if we don't adopt it today, we have to have special meetings, which would have to be scheduled. So we bring it today, and if there aren't any questions, as we have been through this many, many times, other than I'd like to thank everybody for their patience. I'd like to thank, obviously, Karen for the work she's done, and all the rest of the senior staff, and Gina, and our accounting department, and calculating the estimates, and everybody who went through this longer than usual process with us this year. But I think we have a budget that certainly reflects many of the board's strategic priorities, and is a budget that still preserves a significant amount of board surplus for future operations and for contingency, and takes on a few new initiatives which are outlined in the summary document. I think it's an exciting budget.
Thank you. Just a question for trustee Schmidt.
First of all, through the chair, the Secretary Treasurer, thank you, because I think this has been a really good process that we've gone through, even though we've had stumbles. But for myself, between the different sheets and the different walks, but I love the guided tour, and I think it's excellent for our community to understand. I think it's a really nice touch. Is this link live on the website?
It will be after.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to say thank you, because when I was flipping through it the other day, I thought this is an easier way to explain to people how we got to where we're going, and so I just want to say thanks.
Thank you. So we do have some readings, and if we could have a mover and seconder for the first reading. Moved by trustee Schmidt, seconded by trustee Thorne. All those in favor, motion carries. Moving to the second reading. Moved by trustee DeGroot, seconded by trustee Schmidt. All those in favor, motion carries. Moving to consider 3 readings at this meeting. Moved by trustee Thorne, seconded by trustee DeGroot. All those in favor, motion carries. And moving to the third and final reading. Moved by trustee Schmidt, seconded by trustee Thorne. All those in favor, motion carries. And congratulations to our Secretary Treasurer and Assistant Secretary Treasurer and all of the staff and superintendent and so on and so on. I know it's an amazing amount of work. And to the board for their review constantly. It's been a year's effort, and we're finally there, and they're in a very good way. So thank you all. Okay, moving to committees and outside organizations. The first is April 19th DPAC meeting. Trustee Schmidt and Croft.
Trustee Croft's got this one.
She was talking to me and I missed it, sorry.
DPAC meeting.
Right, okay, the Board of Education and School District 79 of Cowichan Valley receives the minutes of the April 19, 2018 DPAC meeting.
Thank you, trustee Croft. Moved by trustee Croft, seconded by trustee Schmidt. All those in favor? Motion carries. Moving to item B, trustee Hutchins.
Yes, the Board of Education of School District 79 receives the minutes of the April 24th, 2018 Board of Education and Board Education Business Committee. So moved.
Thank you. Moved by trustee Hutchins, seconded by trustee Thorne. All those in favor? Motion carries. Moving to item C, DSAC, trustees Thorne.
Move that the Board of Education accept the minutes of the DSEC May 9th meeting.
Thank you. Moved by trustee Thorne, seconded by trustee Doman. All those in favor? Motion carries. One page to item D, trustee Croft.
I'd like to move that the Board of Education in School District 79 Cowichan Valley receives a summary of the May 15th, 2018 Advisory Committee meeting.
Thank you. Moved by trustee Croft, seconded by trustee Doman. All those in favor? Motion carries. Moving to item 10, upcoming meetings and events on page 135. This is the longest agenda we've had, I think.
You think so?
135, okay. If you will note, we have talked about having a candidate orientation in the past, and so we now have named a date, which is August the 28th at 4:30. So also on the website, for people who are interested in running as a trustee position, that there is an information session for them. So please point that out if you're contacted by anyone. Anything else on the schedule? Okay, on the next page is the Long Service Awards, Retirement Events, Staff Year-End Barbecue, and Graduation Ceremonies. Anything that people want to comment on? Trustee DeGroot.
I would just like to know which trustees are planning on attending the retirement event. I think the only person I haven't heard from.
Okay.
And you will be attending? Okay, will you be late or just?
Oh,
No,
no.
it's no, I have to ask you, because sometimes it's for,
Should be on top.
okay, no, it's not, I don't mean to be disrespectful, because some people can't come at, and are you prepared, will you be there in time to do some of the
Yes.
stuff at the beginning? Thank you.
Okay, do you have as much information as you need
I
from
have.
everyone? All right. Anything else on our events list? Okay. Oh, trustee Hutchins.
The last few years of barbecue, we had a wonderful supplier. Is that supplier still supplying to?
No, M&M is no longer in business. However,
We have ordered from Nanaimo. I spoke with Rory and he recommended that we order from the Nanaimo store. So
Okay. And I believe Rory will be joining us again
hopefully he'll
as
be
a
here.
as a civilian person.
Yes,
Hard to think of a barbecue without Rory.
exactly.
That's great. Thank you. And I assume trustee Hutchins will be allowed to cook?
He'll be bringing the hamburgers in from Nanaimo.
Don't be late. And I now know he's attending the barbecue.
That's great. Okay, moving back to the agenda, nothing under correspondence, nothing under new business, question period. Nothing under question period. Our last meeting of the year, school year, that's right. Moving to adjournment. Trustee DeGroot, trustee Thorne, all those in favor, motion carries. Thank you for a great meeting, everyone.